watch football without the restrictions of blackouts or cable? Check out expressvpn.com to help you get access to all the live games. Sign up today using the link in the description to get 3 free months. Action. Yo, what up, Boltfam? It's the director. Please excuse the technical difficulties. We had a couple of things spring up here on the live stream. How's everybody doing, man? What's going on? Everybody reading me? We good? We good? Everybody reading me? Director is coming in hot. Director is coming in good. We got good sound. We got good chat. We got good everything going on in here. Good to see everybody, man. How's everybody doing? Draft day tomorrow. We are what, like 24 hours, a little over 24 hours away from the NFL draft. What's good, everybody? We got Envy Talent in here. Caleb, Anthony, Zelda Fan, Mount, Miguel. We got Trap Lord, Daniel. We got Kajetti. We got JK Mouse. What's going on, everybody? Good to see everybody. It's gonna be a good one today. Oh, man, the NFL draft. What? Again, a little bit over 24 hours away. The hype could not be more real. Type 1 in the chat if you guys were in my Twitter space this morning as well. We've been trying some new stuff. Trying to outreach to the Bolt fam, find new ways to get the voices heard. I think it was a pretty good time, man. That was really fun. I think I do plan on doing that again at some point. That was an awesome, awesome experience. And excuse me, guys, I'm going to turn some music on for myself. It's a little quiet in here. There we go. Get some vibes in for the director. You guys can hear my background music. I want to hear some music too. We got some ones in the chat. What'd you guys think of that, man? That was fun, right? That was fun. We got ourselves some vibes in the Twitter. We got some Twitter space. We had some really good questions answered or asked by the Bolt fam. Some that honestly I had to ask myself, like, yo, is this a possibility? Is this something that we definitely want? Yeah, man. Also, type in the chat. Vibes, right? Vibe check. 1 to 10. What's your vibe for tomorrow? What's your hype levels at for tomorrow? 1 to 10, type in the chat. 1 to 10, what is your hype level for tomorrow? The Chargers pick 17. Oh my goodness, dude. A lot could happen. I'm seeing 10s, 11s, 11s, 10s, 10s, 100. Diego's Finest wants a shout out. What's going on, my man? Yeah, we got a lot, dude. There's a lot of possibilities for the Chargers tomorrow. Over 9,000. Some people a little bit nervous about the draft too. That's completely understandable, right? A lot could happen tomorrow. That's going to be one of the questions I want to ask in today's experience in the Q&A with the Bolt fam. What we're going to be doing. Like, what's the vibe? Like, what's the absolute worst case scenario for the Chargers? Is it really that bad? I don't think it is. I think the Chargers are definitely in a position where it's going to be very difficult to lose, right? It's going to be very difficult for this team to strike out at pick number 17. There's also the question of trades. Do we trade up? Do we trade down? Who's going to be available? It should be a good time, man. I'm very, very excited. Jeremy Livoringa coming back here for $5. Holly says, much love, director. Let's get started with my out of left field pick in Devin Lloyd. Yeah, I'm going to give you guys the floor, man. Q&A. Ask me anything. You know, we're talking about the draft. We're talking about life. We're talking about movies, whatever. Throw your questions my way, starting here with Jeremy, who says, much love, director. Out of left field pick, Devin Lloyd to the Chargers. Oh, dudes, we talked about this earlier today in the Twitter space, and I got to tell you, this one definitely took me by surprise because who knows, man? Who knows if this whole offseason has been a smokescreen? The narrative has been Brandon Staley, defensive backs, right? We want to get as many, nickel and dime looks as we can. But the fact of the matter is, you take a look at what the Chargers did last season, there's a reason. There's a reason that Kaiser White had such good production, as many tackles, as much presence as he did. Of course, he's more of a safety linebacker hybrid, but there's a reason he put up those kinds of stats, and that's why we wanted him so bad. Still think it was a bad call. Still think it was a bad call letting him go. But there's a reason. The Chargers were using their linebackers. So realistically, how often can we keep the linebackers off the field? Kind of really depends on what your personnel looks like, right? And out of left field, if we're talking Devin Lloyd, maybe some of this offseason surprise and narrative begins to make sense. The Chargers may have all along knew that they wanted a Devin Lloyd, possibly even a Kobe Dean, a guy to go out there and play pretty much linebacker and keep that position nice and strong. It was also mentioned this morning on the Twitter Space platform that the Chargers are pretty light in terms of depth at linebacker. Maybe Devin Lloyd has been the narrative all along. We just didn't know it. Maybe we've been steered the wrong way because Brandon Staley does definitely love his defensive backs, but Devin Lloyd being on the table, dude, you can't hate that, right? Of course I would love Devin Lloyd. It would absolutely take me by surprise. I think it would be one of the biggest left turns that Chargers fans have felt in a long time. But when taking a look at each position on this team, of course, we need to address offensive line. That's probably the biggest need right there. We could bolster the wide receivers or cornerbacks. But linebacker, kind of lacking at this point. Drew Tranquil, Kenneth Murray, very solid. But Drew Tranquil often suffering, the wrong side of injury. And Kenneth Murray isn't at a 100% right now, so maybe, just maybe, linebacker may have been in the cards all along, and maybe, just maybe, Devin Lloyd could be the dude. You guys have any idea? Devin Lloyd would be such a huge slam dunk for this team. That dude can do it all. Coverage versus the run, sideline to sideline speed. He would be absolutely insane. So I love that that's the question that we're kicking off this live stream with. Linebacker, keep it in the back of your brains, boys and girls. Keep it in the back of your brains. Okay, because you never know what the Chargers have been planning behind the scenes. That's absolutely insane to think about. Mono SB% says, my 3 picks are Jamo Olave and Big Jordan Davis, Mr. Godzilla himself. That's such a good question to ask, too. Like, who would you be happy with? And maybe who would you be disappointed with? Jamo Olave, Big Jordan Davis, those guys are huge difference makers at their positions, right? And we're talking about bolstering one of these positions. The Chargers went out defensive line, picked up Sebastian Joseph Day, Austin Johnson. That line's looking a lot better than last year. You throw in Khalil Mack on the edge, we should be dramatically improved from the 2021 season. But you added Jordan Davis? What do I say a lot of the times in my videos, especially last season, man? You can't just be good to go to the Super Bowl. You got to be stupid good. Take a look at the past couple of Super Bowl contender Super Bowl winners, too, in the Los Angeles Rams. Stupid good offense. Odell Beckham Jr., Robert Woods, who ended up getting injured, Cooper Kupp, Super Bowl MVP. They went out there and got Matthew Stafford. That's stupid good. Then you take a look at their defense. Jalen Ramsey. They had, Von Miller stacked on top of Aaron Donald and Leonard Floyd. That's stupid good. And they had a couple of positions where they were stupid good. You could say the same thing about Jameson Williams being added to that already very impressive wide receiver core for the Chargers, or even cornerbacks, which Brandon Staley definitely wants to get more of. That would be pretty insane as well. Thinking about J.C. Jackson, Asante Samuel Jr., and then potentially what? Like an Andrew Booth, a Trent McDuffie, if we're lucky, a Derek Stingley. Stupid good is the narrative for the director, and I think there's a way we can accomplish that. Guys, thank you so much to Jeremy Mono. Let's move it on here to Pedro Ramirez, who says, if the Chargers think the canine experiment is a failure, do you think Devin Lloyd is a possibility? Absolutely. Now, I'm not quite sure if I'm ready to close the book on Kenneth Murray yet, right? We talked a lot about maybe finding a contingency plan for him early this season because his production, especially in pass coverage, was really, really bad. Later on, we went out to find out, right, that he's got an ankle injury that was pretty much lingering him the entire season. I know there was a narrative, even before the season started, that there was an off-the-field family trauma that he's been dealing with too, man. You guys don't think that some psychological trauma, had anything to do with maybe a step behind or a step back from his rookie season? I think it did. If you guys didn't know, his brother had passed away. And I think that's something very, very tough to bounce back from, especially so soon going into the NFL season. I'm going to give Kenneth Murray the benefit of the doubt. I'm not done with him yet. And I think that hopefully this season, especially with all the new pieces that the Chargers are adding, that Kenneth Murray will get his shot at redemption and hopefully live up to that round 1 status. But till then, man, 2021 for me was an outlier, and I feel like that I'm willing to give him another shot. He's still that first-round guy that we went out there and drafted, and hopefully he's able to bounce back from injury and, of course, family trauma in order to get back to that spot. Definitely a tough thing to overcome, especially so soon last season into the year. Clever Clapper, what's going on, man? $5 holla, thank you so much. I'm going to check and see if we missed a comment from him before we move on here. If not, thank you so much for the $5 holla. Leo Ramos says, Daxton Hill has Derwin-like potential in my eyes. Safety, corner, linebacker, hybrid. We know Coach loves versatility on this defense. Somebody brought up Daxton Hill earlier today too, man. And I got to tell you, the thought of Daxton Hill with the Chargers opens up a lot of doors, right? We're talking about Devin Lloyd, we're talking about linebackers, and we're talking about, you know, the possibility of Brandon Staley kind of creating a new thing in the NFL, which I don't know how new we're talking, but it would certainly be different. Where Brandon Staley, instead of drafting linebackers, goes out and drafts safeties with linebacker potential, the box potential, being able to play close to the line of scrimmage. Daxton Hill in the first round, I know we haven't talked a lot about it, but I love this player. Very physical, all over the, like very Derwin-esque in the term of how you can use him, right? That wouldn't be a bad pick. Because all of a sudden, you've sort of addressed that linebacker position issue that we were talking about. But instead of having a traditional linebacker, you've got a big hitting safety. A safety that's good in coverage. A safety that you can rely on in zone and man. That's a little bit different. And I think it does hold some potential for what Brandon Staley's trying to accomplish this season. Is it traditional? Not really, but it does make sense with what he wants to do. The only issue is you're really relying on those safeties to definitely step up and help versus the run. Guys like Derwin James can certainly get that done, but you need to be an elevated talent at the position of safety in order to accomplish that. Daxton Hill, Kyle Hamilton, these are the dudes that we're talking that can fill that role while also being a threat versus the run. I like it. I think Daxton Hill mixed up with Derwin James, you can kind of mix and match those guys up high, down low, corner, slot, whatever. It feels like that would offer Brandon Staley the ultimate flexibility. So I cannot write off Daxton Hill, nor can I Kyle Hamilton. I think Daxton Hill should be there at 17. There's a lot of talk about Kyle Hamilton falling into the mid-teens. What do you guys think? What do you guys think? A safety playing linebacker for the Chargers. I can kind of get behind that, man. Leo, thank you so much for the $5 holla and the awesome question. Clever Clapper coming back in here. Clever Clapper. He says, if all that's left in the second tier of those big positions, who you taking? Chris Olave, Zion Johnson, Trent McDuffie. If this is all that's left. Now, in terms of a difference maker this season, we talked a little bit about that in the Twitter space this morning. So I actually gave these three exactly, I think outside of McDuffie, I think I put in Andrew Booth. If these three guys are on the board at pick 17, I think I'm going Zion Johnson. And it's kind of tough to say, you know, like year one impact. Is Zion Johnson really the guy? I think it offers you a lot of flexibility in what you can do on your offensive line, right? Zion Johnson is very flexible. I think more realistically flexible in terms of playing right or left guard. That is pretty great, but there is some upside there for maybe tackle. You can try that out, you know, in camp. But on the upside, you can feel very confident if you need to move Matt Filer to right tackle. We don't want to mess with that chemistry. We don't want to mess with whatever worked last season. But if you have to do it, you know, hands tied behind your back, then I think replacing him with a guy like Zion Johnson, or even replacing Oday Abushi with Zion Johnson, introducing Brendan Hymas, offers a lot of relief to having kind of a new look at offensive line after you tinkering around with what worked so well last season with Filer, Abushi, Lindsley, and Slater. I feel like that offers a little bit of relief. So between those guys, I think I'm going Zion Johnson. Oh, this is so tough because I love Chris Olave as well, but then I think I go Trent McDuffie and then Chris Olave, but all three would be absolutely solid. Great question there, Clapper. Appreciate it. Jacob Eldridge coming back in here. Eldridge says, I think they trade back to the late first, get Devontae Wyatt, and a tackle with the second round pick. Now, this wouldn't be a bad idea either. We're talking the Chargers, pick 17. There is a world that we live in where there's nobody available there at 17 that we feel good about. We could take a Trevor Penning. We could maybe take, I don't know, the next best available wide receiver. Treylon Burks could still be on the table for the Chargers. But at the same time, trading back might be the best option for the Bolts at 17, if that were the case, right? And I think I covered this a couple of videos ago saying that at 17, if the cards fall a certain way, my first preference is to trade back, unless a guy like Zion Johnson, of course, the big hitters, Jameson Williams are available. Even Chris Olave, I think I would be okay with taking at 17, given a specific scenario. But if not, I want to trade back, and I want to better position myself for value in the first round. So I'm thinking, you know, the Chargers need offensive line desperately. I'm very good with trading back, let's say with the Green Bay Packers who are looking for a wide receiver. Let's have them trade up with us at pick 17. They get the receiver, we get our offensive lineman or even defensive lineman. I'd be pretty good with that. Now, in terms of Devontae Wyatt specifically, in a trade back scenario, I'm super cool with that because this class of defensive linemen, outside of a couple of dudes, is not as strong as years past. Of course, Jordan Davis, Devontae Wyatt, Travis Jones. I got a couple guys I like in the later rounds, like Fedarius Mathis, of course, or Fedarian Mathis. Outside of that, I'm not too confident in this interior defensive line class. So if we were to trade back and grab, one of the guys I do think is going to start right away and make a big impact, I'm also very good with that. So thank you so much, Jacob. Appreciate the comment and the question there in the $5 holla. Chargers over Raiders, says Stingley or Williams. Oh, that is a tough one, man. I think in terms of what we're looking at on the defense, right? We got Asante Samuel Jr. rookie contract. He's going to be around for a while. We got J.C. Jackson, who just signed, a 6-year deal with the Chargers. The cornerbacks and the longevity at that position seems a little more stable than the wide receivers. Keenan Allen, a few more years on the contract, obviously, but he is a little bit older. I don't think he's going anywhere anytime soon, but I do think a transition to slot would be beneficial for him in the long run. Also, Mike Williams signed a 4-year deal. You could argue a 3-year deal depending on how it's structured. The Chargers could be looking for their wide receiver of the future sooner than later. When it comes to Williams and the kind of game that he brings, specifically to a team like the Chargers, I think I would edge on the side of Mike Williams or of Jameson Williams, right? I think that speed, especially paired up with a Justin Herbert, is a huge shot in the arm for this team in an area that honestly we did not have, a lot of strength in terms of speed before. So I would lean Jameson Williams, but that is a super, super tough toss-up right there, man. Thank you so much. Chargers over Raiders. Pedro Ramirez coming up next. He says, I'm rooting for Devin Lloyd since we went to the same high school in 2017, and as a San Diego kid, dude was a monster in high school. Otay Ranch High. Let's go, baby. Yeah, Devin Lloyd would be insane. Again, what if it's all smokescreen? What if it's been Devin Lloyd this entire time and we had no idea? Right? Chargers, you can definitely run. A linebacker or formations with linebacker a lot more confidently if you got a guy like Devin Lloyd. Is that going to be the case? I don't know. Again, the narrative has been telling us linebacker probably not even until the late rounds. But maybe it's all been a smokescreen and throwing us off. So Devin Lloyd, of course, if we decide to go linebacker in the first round, I hope it's Devin Lloyd, and it's one that I would be super excited for. Thank you so much, Pedro. Chargers over Raiders coming right back in here with the $10 holla. Says, quick question. Kyle Hamilton may be the smokescreen. What is your opinion? Yeah, dudes, like I said, very similar to what we're talking about with Daxton Hill. You get Derwin James and a guy like Kyle Hamilton or Daxton Hill on the same team, all of a sudden you're looking at, I think, what Brandon Staley wants to accomplish, being able to move his defensive backs around a little bit. Of course, you got what we presume to be your star position guy in Asante Samuel Jr., but what if you want Derwin James in the box? Who's going to be playing up top? That's probably going to be Alohi Gilman. If you can insert a guy like Kyle Hamilton, who, let's be honest, if the Chargers were to land him at 17, that's almost another Derwin James situation. It carries that potential to be one of the slam dunk steals of the draft. All of a sudden, I view this defense in a way where you can keep both guys out on the field most of the time. And that would be pretty scary. What are you going to do in the middle of the field if you're an opposing offense? You're going to test Derwin James? You're going to test Kyle Hamilton or Daxton Hill? I don't know. Are you going to test, the other one up top? I don't know. Are you going to test J.C. Jackson? I don't know. By the time you figured it out, Joey Bosa or Khalil Mack's going to have you on your back. That's the kind of potential I like out of mixing those guys in and out. So I love it, man. I don't know. I think it could definitely be the smokescreen. If Kyle Hamilton falls to us, I could come up with like 20 different reasons why he should be the pick for the Chargers. That's a very good, very, very good observation there. Theory, member for 13 months, past the year mark, the annual mark. He says, if the board doesn't shake out in our favor, like a nightmare situation, how far should we trade down to grab Zion or Bernard Raymond? I think you can target two different spots for either one of those players. I think if you're going for Zion Johnson, you're probably trying to field calls from the Pittsburgh Steelers, right? They're at like 20, I believe. Trade down, try and maybe turn a 4th rounder into a 3rd rounder and still take Zion Johnson, but don't risk somebody, in front of you taking him beforehand. I think 20 is a good spot where you can feel good while getting some value. Bernard Raymond, this guy's a little bit tough for me. I'm not going to lie. I feel like Raymond definitely could be taken in the middle of like the 20s, but also he could fall like into the first 5 or 6 picks of the 2nd round. So if I'm the Chargers and I want Bernard Raymond, I think I still have to find a pick inside the 20s And I think I'm going to target the Green Bay Packers at pick number 28. If you trade back that far, you're talking about nabbing a second-round pick, okay? And this gives you a little bit of flexibility. If you want to take Bernard Raymond at pick 28, that's amazing. If a guy is still there, let's say like Zion Johnson, he could still be there at 28. Or Kenyon Green, if you view either one of those guys as better than Bernard Raymond, you can take him and hope that Bernard Raymond falls to you in the second round. I don't think he would, but it leaves you some options. So I like both of those. I think if you're going to trade down, go ahead and trade down maybe in the between 20 and 25. If you're confident a guy's going to be there late in the first, then trade down with like the Packers or even the Detroit Lions at 32 and grab a second-round pick. Thank you so much, Theory. Good to see you, man. Man, it's been too long. We need to find a way to fit more live streams here on the channel. Ethan Diaz says, what's good, Director? Unpopular opinion, but RB2 is definitely positioned I hope we nail in the later rounds this year. Who's your pick for RB2? Ethan Diaz with a $7 holla. Man, dude, there's so many different running backs at various like parts of the draft and various rounds of the draft that I feel good about, but it's so circumstantial to how the Chargers treat let's say their first 3 picks, right? If the Chargers decide to go Jordan Davis, right, in the first round, which would be a great pick for the Bolts, I'm starting to sweat offensive line and wide receiver a little bit. I would hope in the third round that they select, let's say, an offensive lineman or a guy like Thornton, right, at a Baylor. At that point, you're talking 4th round pick for a running back. Again, I would probably hope that we get a wide receiver, offensive lineman. Then you're thinking like 5th or 6th round. If we go a little bit earlier, I think I'm hoping for Dameon Pierce. And we put this in the video a couple of days ago that I think the Chargers are super deadly serious about running back 2. We saw late last season, the Chargers rotate in pretty much everybody on the roster trying to earn that RB2 spot. Justin Jackson, of course, probably the best out of the bunch, but we did see a lot of snaps for Joshua Kelly, who I think fumbled it away again, and Larry Roundtree. The mix of those guys, I don't know, was enough to take that RB2 position, and I still think it's something that the Chargers are deadly serious about addressing this draft. So if the Chargers were to take a high-caliber guy, I think Dameon Pierce in the 3rd round is definitely on the table. Would I do that? I don't know, but I think that it's certainly a possibility. Dameon Pierce is definitely like the most ready guy in the NFL to come in and help Austin Eckler with those RB2 roles. But if it were up to me, I'm probably targeting Tyler Algier out of BYU. The dude is just kind of a little cannonball, right? He's really good in pass pro. When it comes to like getting out into open space, is he going to be amazing? No, but this dude churns out the tough yards. Outside of that, I think I'd be very happy with like a Brian Robinson in the 4th, 6'2", huge human being, kind of the poor man's Derrick Henry, and then Devonta Price as well. I think would be a really good guy in the late rounds. So I would definitely think that running back is certainly in the Chargers' radar this season, and there are a few options out there that fit the archetype that the Bolts want to target. Big physical bruiser. As a matter of fact, we were talking about this in the Twitter space about how the Chargers and a lot of other teams don't really use a traditional fullback anymore. They're almost like additional tight ends, right? I think Gabe Neighbors and Derek Watt were both more of utility fullbacks, and I don't think the Chargers are going to roster one this year. I think we're going to use our tight end in that spot to block for the running back. Maybe you roster a running back, a bruiser, a power back that somewhat fulfills the duties of a fullback, especially in terms of getting those short yardage 4th downs out of the way. Adds more options to Brandon Staley in going forward on 4th down. So I like it. That was a big answer. I'm sorry, but running back's going to be a big deal, especially in the day 2 and day 3 picks. Chargers over Raiders coming right back in here. Let's see, I almost lost it. With the $5 house says, how do I become a member? Man, I'm so sorry. I wish that YouTube would make it a little bit easier, especially if you're on a mobile device. There is a link, I believe, in the description of this video. It should be. If not, I will go and find it and make sure it's provided. But it's a lot easier on a PC or a laptop. There's going to be a little join button underneath this current video where you'll be able to join the crew. But we'll work on making it a little easier. I think YouTube's coming up with something to help us during the live streams with that. Thank you so much, man, for the support. Clever Clapper coming right back in. $5 says, Crew League was super fun last season. Would you consider doing a long-term league or dynasty league?
Take receiver.
Highly doubt we'll take receivers. The Chargers over Raiders. Okay, we'll come right back to that. Thank you guys so much. $20 haul coming in from Chargers over Raiders. When it comes to a dynasty league, I think that I would think about it, but at the same time, I would love to do an annual league just to kind of get more variety in the members that we have and give everybody kind of a shot to come in here and have some fun. But maybe I'll think about it. I love dynasty leagues. I love having something to kind of keep an eye on during the off season. Thank you so much. Clever. Next up, we got the Boss Man. Member for 9 months says, do you think we should get a right tackle in the draft or a wide receiver and insert Hymus and put Clapp at right tackle and bring back Ibushi? Okay, so a couple of great points in this question. I think Ibushi, again, I got worried. I saw a tweet the other day saying that he wanted to go to Dallas, and I was like, oh my goodness. It turned out to be something else. He works out with somebody there. So I still do think that Ibushi highly likely to re-sign with the Chargers after the draft. I think it's a strategic move. When it comes to Will Clapp, a brand new member of the Los Angeles Chargers, I do view him more as a Scott Quessenberry replacement rather than someone we're going to insert right away. I think he's more of your backup, right? And he's a pretty decent backup, but a backup. He also has the versatility to play guard, so that's why I think that's exactly why the Chargers added him to the roster, to have, you know, that backup at guard and center. Could we start him in lieu of like an Ode Ibushi? Maybe. But I would, again, more highly view him as a backup. When it comes to Brendan Hymus, you guys know how I feel about Hymus. I want Brendan Hymus to get some snaps this season, man. I love Hymus. I love his upside. I very much so believe in him. And if the Chargers were to move Matt Filer to right tackle, I would hope it's Hymus that takes his spot. And Hymus would be in a good position to have a good season, right? He's going to be playing, you know, right next to Rashawn Slater, you know, all-pro left tackle, right next to, or right in between him and Corey Linsley, you know, all-pro center. I feel like we should be good. I think he'll have a lot of help right there at that spot. So Brendan Hymus, very, very high on him. As for right tackle in the draft, I still do think we try and grab some offensive linemen, whether it be a right tackle, whether it be an interior offensive lineman. I think it's very smart to go after a guy, I would say, between picks, maybe in our first 3 picks. I think we should grab an offensive lineman somewhere in our first 3 picks. Chargers over Raiders, come right back, baby. It says, are you going to do anything? Are you on the anything but Penning train? Yes and no. I can't overlook Penning because I do think he would be a solid add to this team, be it he's going to need some discipline when it comes to his attitude and the way he plays physically on the field. There's a lot of things to love about it, but you got to be careful at the next level in the NFL. But I would hope that Penning would come in the scenario of a trade down, right? I think Penning's not a bad pick, but it would be a reach in my opinion. So I'm going to go ahead and say I'm not out on Penning, but I don't think I would take him at pick number 17. Thank you so much, Chargers over Raiders. Coming in here from Matthew Trokinski, 17 months. It blows my mind we've been doing this long. It seems like yesterday that we started the channel. He says, I wouldn't mind trading back and getting a later first round and second round. Sorry if you already talked about this. Just got off work. Hey, no problem, man. Yeah, trading back, certainly on the table for me. If things don't fall a certain way, I think trading back is like my number one preference at pick 17. It really depends. Offensive line, corner, wide receiver, and defensive lineman. Those are the 4 positions I feel like I got to feel good about taking somebody there. And if I don't feel good, I'm willing to trade back. So it's not too bad. Thank you so much, Matthew. Y. Newman says, $5 holla. Would you take a top 3 tackle or Williams? It could be another Chase versus Sewell situation. Oh, that's such a good question because we gave, even in my live stream, we gave the Bengals so much flack for not taking Penei Sewell or an offensive lineman in general, right? And the right move for that team ended up being Jamar Chase. Like, really, like they made it to the postseason on the back of that connection of Joe Burrow to Jamar Chase. I think when you're talking top 3 tackle, what you got Neal, you got Ikwamu, and Zion Johnson, right? In terms of like complete offensive line. No, it's going to be Charles Cross. If we can get Charles Cross, I think I still go Charles Cross, right? Those are my top 3. I think if it's top 3, I'm still going Charles Cross. More than likely, those guys are going to be gone. If it's Williams versus Zion Johnson, then I'm going Williams, I think, in that situation. I think Williams would carry more upside, especially in his first season for the Chargers. But still, it's very, very tough because that Chargers offensive line, we don't want to give up on it. We've lived a life where we saw Phillip Rivers running for his life all the time. We don't want to see that again, okay? Thank you so much for the comment there, man. Richie Lloyd up next, right? Yes, Richie Lloyd, member for 9 Men, says, be aggressive and get a speedy wide receiver for Justin Herbert. Deep ball, bolt up, Chargers fam. Okay, so there's 2 guys I got my eye on as far... Actually, maybe 3. 3 guys I got my eye on. Oh, there's actually a lot. Okay, I'm going to go in order of who I would love as far as a speed wide receiver option for Justin Herbert. Of course, Jameson Williams, number 1, right? Number 2... I think is Chris Olave. And I think Chris Olave, again, if Garrett Wilson's on the table, then yes, but I think he's going to be gone. I think Chris Olave, more realistically, is my second option there. He would be fantastic. After that, who's been climbing my board tremendously has been Thornton out of Baylor. That wide receiver, the fastest one in the draft. I think, dude, he offers a little bit more than just speed, and that's something that I've talked a lot about in terms of what I want in a wide receiver, somebody that's not just that straight speed, but that can offer a little bit more. Tyquan Thornton, dude, he's got hands. I think he's got more in terms of route running than we're giving him credit for. Of course, he's coming out of Baylor. Maybe, he didn't get his best opportunity to really show off. So I really feel like Tyquan Thornton would be my third guy. Then after that, I'm thinking like maybe Danny Gray. You know what I mean? Velus Jones. I think there's some options after the first round that we could make available to the Chargers if we're aggressive enough. But I think at this point, if you want Thornton, you're going to have to get him in the 3rd round. He might not even be there anymore in terms of what I'm looking at the wide receiver. Danny Gray, you might have to get in the 4th round. You're going to have to maybe spend a little bit higher to get these guys a little bit later because speed wide receivers tend to get a little bit reached for. And I'm okay with doing that so long as we get a guy I feel can contribute right away. Next up, the $20 holla coming in from Chargers over Raiders says, I highly doubt we will take a receiver. I think that we will, but I'm also of the opinion that the Chargers may not be as high on receiver in the 1st round as the rest of us, right? And I think the rest of us, I'm speaking in terms of like the Chargers certainly want to give Justin Herbert a tool to maybe use his full kit. What I mean by kit is that, he's got a bit of speed. He's got great decision making. He's got an awesome arm. And that arm hasn't really been put to its full potential yet because we don't have a guy outside of Jalen Guyton that can really get over the top of the defense. I feel like his rookie season was a great example of what happens when we have enough weapons, or at least quality weapons enough to do that. Johnson and Jalen Guyton together really resulted in how many H-bombs in his rookie year? A lot. We saw a lot more plays like that. When we let go of Johnson and it was just Jalen Guyton out there, I think it was a lot harder for the Chargers to pull that off. And I think when you are able to unlock that part of the field as a threat versus your opponent, it forces them to react and to adjust. And in that case, backing off is going to be very good for everybody else on the offense. It's going to give more, opportunities for Justin Herbert to hit people underneath and more opportunities for our players to rack up some yak, right? I like it a lot. I think receiver is definitely something on the table for me, but it doesn't have to be in the 1st round. I think as long as we find a guy that has serviceable speed, that has upside that we can work with, I think I'm fine with taking somebody a little bit later too. But yeah, I think in terms of the 1st round, it is such a toss-up. It could definitely be pretty much any other position besides quarterback, and we really wouldn't know. Thank you so much again, Chargers over Raiders. Byron Levia comeback says, need that Lorenzo Neal type again. Man, it's warranted. I got the dude's jersey behind me right now. LaDainian Tomlinson, heck of a career, right? But Lorenzo Neal, I feel, deserves a lot of credit too, right? As amazing as LaDainian Tomlinson is and all the plays that he made individually, I think there was a lot of credit to be had for Lorenzo Neal as well. And that just speaks to how, important a player like him can be to a really nice running back, let's say even like Austin Eckler. I don't know. I like that. Of course, a traditional fullback, you don't see him as often anymore in the NFL, but I feel like you can find something in maybe a bruising back. You could even play him at fullback a little bit if you want to. So yeah, I like that idea, Byron. Appreciate it. Mike Boyette coming in here, 16 months. What up, Director? What up, Boltfam? Good to see you, Mike. Thank you so much for dropping in, my friend. Envy Talent for 10 months says, I really need another go on the fantasy tip. And I don't care if it doesn't fit. I want Smoke Monday for reasons. Hey, man, who says Smoke doesn't fit? Dude, I would be all over Smoke Monday. He's been climbing, which breaks my heart. You used to be able to get him in the 7th round. Then they're like, okay, maybe we have to take him in the 6th. I'm thinking he's more of a 4th or 5th round guy now. But I love everything that he brings, man. 6'3". You can play him somewhat similarly to Derwin James, kind of mix and match him. It really fits what, again, Brandon Staley wants to do, but he's going to need some work in coverage and then his ball skills. So he would be a guy that's a nice backup. Maybe you play him occasionally, but he's one that I would definitely love to have on the roster. That would be a fun jersey to own too as well. Dougie Fresh coming in here, man. Dougie Fresh says, Tom told J.K. Scott, our new punter, that we're going to have 2 punters in camp. Possibly Chargers might draft Matt Araiza. Man, dude, I almost put him in my realistic mock draft a couple of days ago. Was that yesterday? Yesterday? It could happen. I really, honestly, at this point, I cannot write off Matt Araiza to the Chargers. I just have a feeling that when he visited with the Chargers, which, if you guys didn't know, he did visit with the Bolts, he must have left an impression. And to flat out say that to your current starter in J.K. Scott does support the idea of Matt Araiza. The issue is, where is Matt Araiza going to be available? If I'm the Chargers, I tell myself before the draft, like, I want Matt Araiza, but we have other needs. But if a Matt Araiza is there, let's say in the 4th round, maybe I start thinking about it. If he's there in the 5th round, I think maybe I pull the trigger. That's the kind of mentality I'm hoping they go in with it. So and who knows, maybe the Chargers are crazy and they want to take him in the 3rd round. That would cause some waves in the Chargers community. It would be exciting, but at the same time, like, whoa, who are we passing up for a punter? But at the same time, I think Matt Araiza is in the cards for the Chargers. He met the Chargers, or with the Chargers, for a reason. He met with this team for a reason. And if I'm, the Chargers, and this is the Matt Araiza story, I bet your butt, dude, that he left an impression with that team. So who knows, man. Dougie, thank you so much, man. Clever, welcome to the crew, man. It's been a minute, man. We're going to find some more live draft stream opportunities here coming up soon. I think we're going to start up the Sim Sundays again here pretty soon. I wanted to get the rookies on the roster, and we'll see. I'll keep you guys updated on that. Thank you so much, Clever Clapper. Next up, we got Hugo. Good to see you, man. Let's trade 17th with the Lions in exchange for Penei Sewell. He deserves a block for Justin Herbert, not Jared Goff. I feel you. How amazing would that be? Chargers over Raiders. Coming right back, says, I love Bo Melton. Bo Melton is definitely one of those late round guys that I have my eye on too. He has speed, right? Maybe not the craziest speed, but he's got speed. He's got upside and route running. You can utilize him maybe more as like a gadget player in some instances too. If we're talking Joe Lombardi, who loves him some wide receiver screens, you bring in a guy like Bo Melton, I'm feeling a little bit better about it, because you need somebody with a bit better acceleration than what we have on the roster right now. I think Bo would be a nice addition late in the draft. And that also got me thinking, this might be super random, but the only reason I haven't really written off Treylon Burks, because I do think Burks would be a very nice add to pretty much anybody. I feel it's a little redundant, right? Because we already have Mike Williams. They remind me of the same thing. But Burks is mainly a slot guy, right? Burks, how many plays did we see him go nuts on a wide receiver screen? If you're Joe Lombardi behind the scenes, you got to be like, man, Brandon, Tom, I know you guys got your heart set on maybe a corner, maybe offensive line, but I want the wide receiver screen god on this team. So who knows, man? Who knows? Adam Lyon, welcome to the crew, guys. Thank you so much for the support here. David Rojas says, $10 holla. Appreciate everything you do for this community. So hyped for the season, Bolt Up. Hey, David, thank you so much, man, for the comment. Thank you so much for the $10 holla. Thank you so much for the support. I could not be more stoked. I have not been able to shut up about the draft for like 24 hours. I'm driving people crazy. So I was like, I got to get on, make more videos. I got to get on and live stream and really vent this all out, because we're 24 hours away pretty much, and things are about to get nuts. I have no idea. For the first time in a long time, I have no idea what's going to happen tomorrow. There's so many options. There's so many options for us to win. I feel fewer options for us to lose. I just want to sit back and let myself be surprised and be excited. And that's a really good feeling going into the NFL draft. A lot of other teams biting their nails, wondering like, hey, man, are we going to get a quarterback? Are we going to get a wide receiver for Aaron Rodgers? Is there going to be anybody blocking for not Russell Wilson now in Seattle? Who knows? But the Chargers have themselves a much more comfortable roster going into the draft, which just, lets me have those vibes to sit back and enjoy yourself. So I'm super excited. Thank you so much, David. Alex Adux, or Adkix, coming in here saying, what are your thoughts on Treylon? Yeah, okay. We accidentally just answered that. Again, I think Treylon Burks could be on the table, right? I think, okay, webcams chat, let's go ahead and cool off here, man. We're going to go ahead and hide this user from the channel. There we go. I think Burks certainly could be on the table, man. I do think that Burks, again, from the slot, which is primarily where they played, is not a bad idea, especially if you're a Joe Lombardi who loves that wide receiver screen. So I can't take him off the table. What would likely happen in that scenario, and the reason why I feel like some people shy away from it sometimes, is because we want more speed. Burks isn't the speediest guy, but he's certainly not slow. What that offense would look like is likely Williams at X. You got Burks on the other side, and then Keenan would likely get a lot more slot work. As a matter of fact, you would probably see Keenan and Burks shifting back and forth between who plays the slot. I mean, when you think about it, that sounds pretty deadly. So I guess you cannot write that off at all. Sounds pretty good to me. So I can't write it off. But if it were up to me and it was Burks versus Olave, I would go with the faster guy. I think Olave would fit very well with this team. Chargers Overrated come right back, says we might draft Kenny Pickett. Ooh, man. Can you imagine that, Kenny Pickett? If it were me, if that was in any way a possibility, I would almost think of it as like, you know, in fantasy football, when you like corner a market. So I did this one year. I'll never do it again. I cornered the tight end market. I think I took like tight ends 3 out of my first 5 picks, and I was stacked. At one point, I was starting tight end in one of my flex positions, and I was hoping to sell one off at a premium price, you know, just see which one performed the best and then try and sell them. It didn't work. my draft or my league was way too smart, and they looked right through me, and that bit me in the butt. But that's the only way I would ever see is drafting a quarterback at any point in this year's draft. Maybe a backup later. What was his name? Is it Derek King? Very fast quarterback, maybe much later, somewhat of like an Easton Stick replacement, but we brought back Chase Daniels. I don't think it's gonna happen. That's fun to think about. Hugo Boss, the doorman, the man himself, 16 months, one of the best dang mods on the web. He's got to say, if you were GM, what is the earliest that you would take a running back, and who? Kelly, JJ, Roundtree, just not it. Can't wait for the draft. Christmas came early. Okay, so I think Justin Jackson, currently the Chargers' best option at running back 2. The only issue is I don't know if I trust him in terms of staying on the field, and that's the one thing that's been holding Justin Jackson back, and that's unfortunate because he really is a fine talent behind Austin Eckler. Joshua Kelly has fumbled away his opportunities one too many times, and I think Larry Roundtree would be a serviceable running back 3 going forward. If it were me, unfortunately, I do not re-sign Justin Jackson. I let Joshua Kelly go, and I bring in another guy. The earliest that I'm willing to draft a running back, some are saying Breece Hall in round 1. I don't think I'm about it. If I get Breece Hall at all, I'm trading in the middle of the second round, trading back up into that pick. But Breece Hall to me, I think is a luxury that we don't need. The earliest I'm going is Dameon Pierce in the 3rd round. And I think he could be available. I think there's a 50-50 shot that Pierce is available in the 3rd round. And again, I mentioned this in my video yesterday. Pierce, who I think is a very realistic possibility to the Chargers, by the way, because again, this running back 2 situation, this topic is taken very seriously by the Chargers. I don't have any like articles or insiders to back that up, just with what I saw with my own 2 eyes last season. That team was working everybody on the roster, hoping to find a nice backup. I don't know if that happened. So again, in the 3rd round, Pierce, if available, I think the Chargers may pull the trigger on that. Because once again, Pierce, the most NFL ready, in my opinion, that you're going to find after, let's say, Breece Hall and those first two-rounder guys. I feel like his role with the Florida Gators could be very similar with how the Chargers would utilize him, sharing that backfield with a number 1 back, or at least splitting time with another guy, also being utilized as a pass protector. He's got a little bit of, experience catching the ball as well. I think that would be one of the most perfect fits for the Chargers in terms of a backup running back. Would I be about it? I think I would warm up to it. I think I would be okay with it. I think I personally am more comfortable taking a guy a little bit later that better fits what the Chargers are trying to do. Because let's be honest, Joshua Kelly, he fit what I think what the Chargers need, but he's just got issues holding onto the ball, and we can't keep a player like that on the roster. We could certainly find a guy in the 6th round that maybe isn't viewed as, a pass catcher, not a bell cow, maybe like a 2nd or 3rd, running back on anybody's roster, but he's more valuable to the Chargers as a second back because of what we need, and that's short yardage. So again, guys like Brian Robinson, Tyler Algier, Devontae Price, I have my eyes on those guys a little bit later, and I do think that they could add what the Chargers need specifically. But if you want the biggest, most first-year impact guy, it's going to be Dameon Pierce out of Florida in round 3. Clapper coming right back here saying, if by some miracle JMO fell to us, would you feature him over Mike or Keenan? Treat him like a Tyreek instead of a Deshaun Jackson. If we got Jameson Williams on the roster, my first instinct is to play him in the slot, because that speed can be unleashed a little bit easier if someone's not pressing you. And I think Jameson Williams, that was one of the few things that I feel people are like, if I'm nitpicking, maybe he has to, get a little bit better versus press. In the slot, he's not going to have to worry much about that. So if I'm the Chargers, I swap him with Keenan Allen in the slot a little bit. You can feature him outside as much as you want. I think he would be great there too. But you try and take advantage of that raw speed by giving him a little bit of space to get open. So I would feature him. I would try and get him on the field more often than not. I think the Chargers, more often than not, are going to have 3 wide receivers on the field, and you can feature him in that way. But really, when it comes to Jameson Williams and featuring players, I think it's almost better just to keep Mike where he is at the X. You can keep Keenan on the outside as well, and just kind of rotate guys depending on what's going on. I feel like those 3 are so elite that they can do pretty much whatever from wherever, and I'd be super happy with it. So Jameson Williams, guys, I'm telling you right now, if the Chargers get a wide receiver as fast as JMO at any point here in the draft, expect to see some very positive results in what Justin Herbert can do and how the opposing defense is going to have to react. Nice question there, my man. Chargers overrated come back here. $2 says, with the 17th pick, we select director. Oh, dudes, what would I even play? Okay, so I'd be out there. I think I'd be one of those guys, hyping up the locker room, right? We're going to get that morale up. We're going to get that positive vibes and energy up just right away. That's going to, improve everybody's performance by at least 17-20%, right? And then after that, if you got to get me on the field in a pinch, maybe the director could play little guard, right? Little guard. I'm big, but I'm not big enough to be a guard. Maybe I play little linebacker, little tight end, right? I think that's exactly where I would have to line up, and then hope to not get my quarterback killed. Appreciate the love there, man. Hugo Boss says, I can imagine Austin Eckler being Tom, or telling Tom, begging for another running back, like, help me, like Kevin Hart says. Again, Austin Eckler is our featured guy, right? We're lucky to have him. Eckler is going to be very much so effective, just like he was last season. What we're talking, 20 touchdowns last season for Austin Eckler. He's the guy. He's the guy for the Chargers. But when it comes to asking Austin Eckler, hey man, we need 2-3 yards, at the goal line. We need 2-3 yards on 4th and short. That's a lot to ask of the dude, because as ripped and jacked as he is, he's just not the right size, the fall forward size, the big, even though I'm going to meet resistance from like a linebacker or somebody closing the gap, I can still push forward and just fall for those extra 2 or 3 yards. You help Austin Eckler out tremendously by not asking him to do that. It keeps him more fresh. It keeps him more willing to hit those plays that meet his strengths, trying to find a gap on the outside, catching, from the flat. Being that safety valve behind your wide receivers. I think that better suits what Austin Eckler could do and really helps him meet his full potential. So yes, when I say we want a running back, I'm not saying we're trying to get somebody to replace Austin Eckler in any shape, way, or form. I'm saying we need somebody to help Austin Eckler keep at his peak performance by giving somebody that can do something that he doesn't do as well, right? Back and forth. Sounds really good to me. Long snapper. Hey, I'll take long snapper any day, man. Give me those long snapper duties right there, and we'll take that to the house. We can't ignore offensive line. Says original one. Our West opportunity or opponents upgraded the edge. We need to keep Herbert healthy. Nothing else matters. So let's say that the AFC West didn't even address or the AFC West didn't bolster the edge as much as they did, right? Who would we still be going up against? We'd still be going up against Bradley Chubb, Max Crosby, let's say Yannick Ngakoue was still here. There would be a lot of issues still today with the offensive line that we have. Now you introduce, Chandler Jones. You introduce Randy Gregory. you introduce a lot of dudes that are going to make the Chargers' lives pretty difficult when it comes to protecting the quarterback. So this also begs the question for me, what's the best way to address this? Because we can hope that we hit in the draft and that they're good enough to keep Justin Herbert upright. There's never really any guarantee. You can kind of say the same thing with a free agent, right? Because who knows if they're going to mesh with your system? Who knows if they're on the decline? But at the same time, it's a lot to ask of any rookie. The whole Rashawn Slater thing last season, we got pretty lucky. I'm not going to lie. It's an outlier. We hit the jackpot with Rashawn Slater, and he definitely did the job. Will we feel as good about Trevor Penning, Zion Johnson, Bernard Raymond, Abraham Lucas? Probably not, but at the same time, they're playing a different position. That blind side is set and ready to go with Rashawn Slater. Right tackle, the reason why that position isn't as valued is because, of course, your quarterback's going to have a line of sight on that side of the line more often than not, and he can adjust if something were to happen. So when it comes to position value, when it comes to veteran versus rookie, I still think getting a guy in the draft is probably the best move. But if you needed to bring in a Darrell Williams, if you needed to bring in a Riley Reif, it also makes sense as well due to the position, the experience, and what would be available at pick 17, maybe even 79 in the third round. So it really just kind of depends on how the Chargers view it. Me personally, I'm probably going for the rookie. I'm trying to get Bernard Raymond. I would settle for Trevor Penning in a trade down. I'd be happy with Lucas. Sean Ryan, if we wanted to give him a shot at right tackle in the third round, I think I'd be happy with that. But it's such a sensitive issue that the Chargers really need to do their homework and figuring out how they want to figure that out. Because as of today, our best option is Matt Filer. I'm cool with it. I'd be fine rolling out the season with that. I would hope we sign another guard or two. But I don't want to disturb that offensive line chemistry if I don't have to. Big question, man. Offensive line, a lot of people get bored with that kind of talk. But when it comes to the Chargers and how bolstered this roster looks right now, if that's one of our few weaknesses, of course, we're going to dial in on it and see if what we can do to fix that and figure that out. Cole Lawrence coming in with the $5 haul says, "Hey, director, how you doing, buddy? I just wanted to ask, have you seen any film on Christopher Allen and Zamir White? I think they are perfect for us. I have checked out a little bit of Zamir White. He definitely is on my radar. I think he could fit in terms. I know there were some things. I don't know if it was pass protection or if it was between the tackle. I might be thinking of Zacharias White as well. But either way, there's a lot of running backs with similar names this season. Have you guys noticed that? Like Damian Price, Devontae Pierce. There's like 2 or 3 Price and Pierces. And then you got like 2 or 3 Whites as well. But I have looked at Zamir White. I haven't looked up much in Christopher Allen. But I do think, again, these late round guys, if they fit what we're looking for, if they carry the size and the strength, I feel like they're going to be better suited in our offense than they would in other offenses, right? If somebody else is asking them to be, more of a bell cow, have more snaps in general, or split time with a less talented back than Austin Eckler, I think they would be set up for failure. But a late round guy for us in a different situation where we just need him to come in on those short yard situations spells more success for a late rounder. So I'll check out Christopher Allen for sure, but yeah, Zamir White I definitely wouldn't be opposed to. Quentin Alvarez, message retracted. No! Thank you so much for the $5 holla. Let me see if I can find a thing. He says, would love Davis, but who knows who we're taking at this point. Yeah, okay. Well, that was Alvarez, Quentin Alvarez. I'll check and see if we find another question coming here in just a second. But thank you so much for the $5 holla. When it comes to Davis, yeah, defensive line. When you take Davis in the 2022 NFL draft, you're making a statement that you're not going to let what beat you last year also beat you this year, and that was defending against the run. Jordan Davis would be such a monstrous pick for this team for 2 different reasons. One, you're getting one of the best run-stopping defensive tackles in this draft class, probably the best one. And 2, his attributes, you don't see that, like, ever. Like, his speed, his athleticism, for his size and what position he plays, you never see that. So if the Chargers are feeling a little, let's say, antsy about Jameson Williams' injury or, even Derek Stingley's injury if they want to trade up, if they're feeling antsy about that, you can take the upside of a guy who's just kind of a freak of nature. he shouldn't move that fast. He shouldn't move the way he is. And I know he didn't get a lot of exposure outside of early down work at Alabama, or with his team, but I feel like in Georgia. But I feel like, dude, he has the upside to be a very, very nice pass rusher from the interior. Maybe you bet on that upside. I don't know. I like Jordan Davis. Mono SB coming back here. My final choice of 17 is Jordan Davis. Yeah, great. We just talked about that. Jordan Davis. Just the upside, the difference that he brings at that position. It's just so unique that you could, at face value, count on him to stop the run and to create space for Bosa and Mack, which is already a huge problem. That, again, we like to talk about the butterfly effect of that defense. You start in the trenches. If you can bolster that, it's going to help the edge, and that's going to get to the quarterback. It's going to help your linebackers in having to defend the run and to maybe getting a position for an interception. It's going to help your corners and your DBs in terms of more opportunities to create a turnover. With Bosa and Mack screaming at you, there's going to be some bad decisions made. There's going to be more balls thrown in the dirt. And that's going to give, your defensive backs more opportunities to create big plays. So just by adding a guy like Jordan Davis has a butterfly effect throughout every level of that defense. And that's why, of course, we want the big hotness and the attractive speed of a JMO. We want the attractive, shutdown, trio of cornerbacks and JC, Asante Samuel Jr., and then maybe like a Derek Stingley, a Trent McDuffie, Andrew Booth. But when it really comes down to it, the butterfly effect really starts in the trenches. That's why I think Jordan Davis would be an awesome pick at 17. But again, who knows? We are really in the dark here as to what the likely outcome could be for the Chargers tomorrow. Tomorrow, dude, it's coming up quick. Copper coming back in his thoughts on Cross to the Chargers at 9. Okay, so you're talking about, that's the Seattle Seahawks pick, right? You're talking about trading up with the Seattle Seahawks in order to grab Charles Cross. It's 9, right? Or the Seahawks 10. I think they're 9 and then the Jets are 10. I think my issue with that is that the Seattle Seahawks, if Cross is there, more likely are inclined just to take him. Because right now, who are the Seahawks right and left tackles? I think they need both at this point, right? And Cross is perhaps the best pass protector in this class. If you're the Seattle Seahawks and you just lost Russell Wilson, your first objective in, let's say, somewhat of a rebuild, I'm sure they're going to be in the running for a quarterback next season, is to grab offensive linemen. Those pieces that bring security long term. And if Charles Cross is there, maybe the Chargers could trade up with them, but if I'm the Seahawks, I'm just taking them flat out, right? If we were to trade up for Charles Cross, it would probably have to be the pick before them. I'm not quite sure. I don't remember who has pick 8 in the draft. Is it the Giants? Maybe you could pull that off, but it would cost a lot. We're talking this year's first round and maybe even next year's first round with some change from the New York Giants. So, it's tough to say. At that point, when it comes to value and you want offensive linemen, I think the better choice is to trade down and try and grab a guy at a value in the early to late 20s. And those guys are probably like Kenyon Green, of course, Trevor Penning, Bernard Raymond. Those are the guys that I think you're going to find a better bang for your buck than trading up for Charles Cross. Charles Cross would be the best option for the Chargers in protecting Justin Herbert, bar none, but it would cost a lot of capital to go up there and get him. Same thing can be said for pretty much anybody. Derek Stingley, Jameson Williams, pretty much anybody inside the top 10. Top 10 is very, very hard to trade into, but you never know. You definitely never know. Hugo says Debo wants a lot of money. What are your guys' thoughts on Debo? I got a lot of people pushing back on the thought of me saying no to Debo, but I would like to know some of your guys' thoughts on, would you be willing to forego a first this year and maybe next year for Debo Samuel? Is he going to be that much better than the guys that maybe we take a shot on with the first round pick this season? Let me know. Steve Simmons coming in with a $25 holla. Yo, we out here chilling, and Steven's going nuts. Let's see.
Davis would be our best centerpiece since Jamal Williams. Also
Yes.
like Tyquin or Velus Jones later, both analytically better than Olave.
Analytically too, Olave, I was looking at some stats for him the other day. I don't know why, but there was a lot of people worried about his yards after the catch, right? And it's kind of funny when you actually look at Olave. I think a lot of the times it happened because maybe he had to go out of bounds. Maybe it was smarter to go out of bounds, or he was just like right next to the end zone. The dude scored a bunch of touchdowns, and I think that may have skewed his yak percentage just a little bit. There's a lot of reasons why I think he didn't turn up field that are more legitimate, because when you do see him turn up field, he's got the legs, he's got the speed, he's got the moves. I think that he's got more yak potential than people are giving him credit for. But when it comes to Jordan Davis, I love the comp to Jamal Williams. Jamal Williams, you know, when it comes to not being able to run in the Chargers, those are the years to look at, right? Because it's been a while since the Chargers have had anything else resembling that. Even before that, I couldn't tell you who was the best before him. I feel like Jordan Davis, it's starting to create a shift in what the Chargers have been to what their potential is now. Chargers all of a sudden went from a very soft team to run against to one of the best, right? We haven't seen that in forever. The Chargers in this season as well, if we're ushering in a new style, a new team in general, Justin Herbert very much so is different than Phillip Rivers, right? And this team had been drafting for so long to help Phillip Rivers out, give him open targets. The whole Mike Williams idea was for Phillip Rivers. I think that season they were thinking about drafting a guy to groom under Phillip Rivers for a couple of years before Rivers decided to retire. No, Rivers wanted to keep playing, so they got him, Mike Williams. Now in this Justin Herbert era, you should be targeting guys that better fit his play set, his skill set, right? You want fast guys to utilize the arm. You want guys to help him in that zone run offense. You want guys to help him, get open underneath when he needs to scramble. You want safety valves. It's a completely new offense because of Justin Herbert. The defense can also be looked at the same way. This defense, which has featured a lot of cover 3 shell, prevent, it feels like that's a Chargers of the past. Brandon Staley is the Justin Herbert of the defense. We now need to build a defense that's more catered to the Brandon Staley effect. I'm gonna tell you guys right now, me personally, I'm expecting to see a lot more press man. I'm predicting to see a lot more man blitzes. I'm predicting to see a lot more heat, more creative blitz packages off the edge, overload blitzes. I'm expecting to see a much different Chargers than your daddy's Chargers, if that makes sense. And it's because of the way the Chargers are shifting their mentality and bringing in different kinds of personnel. So Davis could certainly support the idea of, we are not going to let anybody run on us. And once again, the butterfly effect is going to have effect on the entire roster, but that definitely, certainly is not a bad move. And it's so hard because Jordan Davis, to me, it just feels so obvious, right? No one's running on us anymore. He's got upside as a pass rusher. Yeah, Jordan Davis is the move. But then you look at J-Mo and you're like, well, of course J-Mo's the move. We want to utilize Justin Herbert's big arm. Then you look at, Derek Stingley, and you look at even Trent McDuffie. You're like, well, yeah, if everybody's, locked down, who's going to be open? It's going to open up more opportunities for turnovers, closer to on the line of scrimmage with your pass rushers. There's just so many good possibilities, and that's why tomorrow is going to be so much fun. Because if they go Jordan Davis, I know why I'm hyped. If they go J-Mo, I know why I'm hyped. If they go offensive line, I know why I'm content, but also equally hyped. There's just really so few ways for the Chargers to really get that pick wrong. And then to wrap it up, because you made some really good points in this one, Steve. Thank you so much. Tyquan, Velus Jones, Danny Gray. We've seen what Justin Herbert can do with serviceable fast wide receivers in the past. With Johnson, why am I forgetting his freaking name? With Johnson and Jalen Guyton. Those guys paired up together in Herbert's rookie season, went off. Tons of H-bombs that season. I think a guy like Thornton or Velus Jones could help do the same thing. So I love it. Great question. Thank you so much for the $25 holla, my man, Steve Simmons. We see him here all the time. I appreciate it. Chargers over Raiders. $5 holla says, I wouldn't trade for Devo this season. Debo, I think is what you're saying, right? Debo, yeah. I asked you guys a question here a second ago. My opinion here is no, don't trade for Debo Samuel, okay? Because as good as Debo Samuel is, and as amazing as he would be with the Chargers, I think you're misusing your resources a little bit in terms of those picks, right? Because it's not just this year's first. You're talking next year's first pretty likely as well. And when it comes to a wide receiver that would be a big impact for this team, yes, Debo would automatically make Lambeau feels so good, right? Joe Lombardi, excuse me, make Joe Lombardi feel so good because he's so good at those, wide receiver screen plays. He's so good at, picking up yards after the catch. But I do think there's a speed element that the Chargers might benefit from equally as much. And you can find that in the draft, not just in the first round this season. So me personally, I'm not trading for Deebo Samuel. I think they're going to be asking for too much. And I think the Chargers this season in particular have an avenue in several different rounds to help bolster this wide receiver core in different ways. So yeah, I agree with that. Thank you so much, Chargers over Raiders. Next up, we've got from Quentin Alvarez. Says, Director, just wanted to say thanks for bringing us all together. Super excited for tomorrow. I don't see how this team can take any L's. Bolt up. Such a good feeling. Such a good feeling going into the draft, knowing like, hey, dude, I think we're going to be good, man. I think we're going to be all right. We already got what? We got Mac. We got Bosa. We got Sebastian Joseph Day. We got Austin Johnson. We got Drew Tranquil and Kenneth Murray. We got Derwin James, J.C. Jackson, even Nasir Adderley, and Asante Samuel Jr. You can even throw in Mike Davis in there, too. That defense is looking really, really good. And then on offense, of course, you got Justin Herbert and a slew of weapons. Eckler, Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, who was re-signed. You got the brand new. We haven't even talked much about Garrett, right? I feel like there's a lot that the Chargers have to offer already without even going into the draft. So just having that freedom just to be open to the hype is great. I see Guillermo Poirier saying Calvin Austin. Yeah, I think Calvin Austin's definitely a selection that would make me super excited too. I think he's more of a second day pick. So I don't know if, or the second round picks. I don't know if he'll be available to the Chargers, but if he's there in the third, yeah, definitely take him. What's kind of crazy too, let me know if you guys share in the sentiment, okay? I think I'm higher on Tyquan Thornton now than I am Calvin Austin. Is that crazy? And no, it's not because Thornton ran a faster 40. I think both those guys' game speed, feel very similar. But I think Thornton, again, dude, just watch what he does. Go see if you can find some highlights in Thornton. I just feel like maybe he's a little thin on the frame, but he's got height. He's got hands. His route running was not as basic as I thought it would be when I went to look at, some of his highlights. I like it. I like it a lot. I think he's got way more upside than people are letting on. So, I would be happy with him in the third round. It used to be that every single mock draft, you're going to find him in the 6th and 7th. He climbed up to the 5th and 4th. He may even climb up further actually on draft night. I would say, the second day of draft. So who knows, man? Who knows? Clapper says, what players would you consider trading up for? Okay, that's a great question. Thank you guys so much, too. I'm not trading up in the first round. I think I'm pretty stubborn on that, too. You can go get a guy, and I think the only guys I would trade up for in the first round, Derek Stingley, maybe at cornerback. Sauce Gardner, if he starts to fall. I think if he starts to fall, can be said about pretty much everybody. If they start to fall outside the top 8, then maybe I start to consider, trading up for even those big names, Akwamu, Neal, stuff like that. It would really have to be a very specific circumstance for me to want to trade up into the top 10 or even into the top 13, right? Outside of that, if I do trade up, I would trade back into the second round, right? That would likely cost a second round pick next season, but I like the aggressiveness we put together a heck of a roster for 2022. We are in win now mode, and this team wants to grab the best value they can at pick 17. We're either going to get stupid good at wide receiver, defensive line, cornerback, or there's one that I'm missing. Offensive line, cornerback, defensive line, maybe even linebacker. Who knows? We're going to get stupid good at one of those positions, right? But we also need offensive line if we're going to make it far this season. So we're going to trade back up into the second round and take Bernard Raymond and take Sean Ryan or somebody that would be a difference maker in the second. Maybe even trade up a little bit further into the third, a little higher into the third to get a guy like Abraham Lucas to really, address that position of need while not giving up, a crap ton of draft capital to move up too high. So if I'm trading up for Bernard Raymond in the second round, and I'm willing to trade up into the early second round in order to get him if he does fall out of the first. Bernard Raymond is the guy I'm trading up for. That's me. Because I think, honestly, dudes, I don't know how you guys feel about this. I think Raymond has the upside to be, in the conversation of one of the best offensive linemen in this draft, especially lining up at right tackle. I know there's a lot of talk. I think he was a left tackle, right? right tackle Raymond, dude, with the traits that he carries in run blocking, he's very good in pass blocking too. I think he's got that potential. So yeah, I would trade up for Raymond. Additionally, I think I would be comfortable in trading down and target Raymond in the middle, 20s, if that was the case. I like Raymond a lot. So that's me. Real dark horse is George Karlaftis at edge. Karlaftis, I remember thinking being a very good player, but I'm not so sure he's that fit for the Chargers, if that makes sense. If I'm thinking I could very well be, misremembering, but I do feel it because I didn't look up much on Karlaftis once I kind of started looking into him. More of a 4-3 guy, right? Hand of the dirt. I feel like one of his best fits would be with the Texans, right? And I do think the Texans may end up taking him a little higher, just as a hot take outside of the Chargers. Karlaftis, a very good player. Can he stand up and play linebacker? Edge for the Chargers? Maybe, but we'll see. Again, it's kind of tough to say because Joey Bosa is kind of the same way, right? He did start off in 3-4 at the Chargers, but found his footing in 4-3, but now we're back at 3-4. Maybe there's better options as far as pass rushers. At that point, if it was between Karlaftis, Devin Lloyd, and who would other... Johnson was going to be taken. I don't know. I'd probably still go Devin Lloyd at linebacker. Who knows? What about the 6'8 offensive tackle? Oh, man, what was his name? Remind me. Can we trade Jerry Tillery to the Lions for a 32nd? He's Anthony Lynn's guy after all. If we do trade Jerry Tillery, I think the best move is to give... If we are like desperate, if we're like, yeah, we're trading Jerry Tillery, the best move is to still give him some snaps this season. Hopefully he does a little bit better with this new look. Help him, increase his trade value a little bit and then trade him before week 8 this season. But I feel you, dude. I feel you. Faalele, yes, Daniel Faalele. That's the dude I was talking about. Faalele, what? He's got a 2nd or 3rd round projection. I like Faalele a lot just because of like the size of the dude. Because 6'8 is tall, but he's also like freaking huge, right? It feels like you could work with that in a way where it's like you can't get around this guy. Like if he could move, almost think of him as like a one-cut running back. Like if he moves one way, of course if you got a wicked spin or whatever, you're going to get around him. But it just feels like his sheer mass, his sheer size should be enough to help him, generate some nice protection on that side. However, speaking logically, he is so big that I feel like he's going to have an issue against speed rushers, right? Those guys that are going to be able to get around him, just use that speed to their advantage. He can't be that fast at 6'8", but I guess I wouldn't hate it, right? You can do a lot worse than a 6'8" right tackle protecting your quarterback and also offering run lanes. If I'm Faalele or if I'm Austin Eckler and I see Faalele right there, I mean, you're talking like a foot difference pretty much. Faalele pretty much just needs to move forward, and you can expect there to be like an iron wall halfly provided by Faalele, and there's going to be open running lanes on the right side. So I don't know, man. It's kind of crazy to me. If I were to gauge Faalele yes or Faalele no, I think I'm willing to take a shot on him, but I don't know if he fits what we're trying to get there on the right side. But still, it's kind of fun to think about. Yeah, Lloyd's a stud. Jeremy coming in here one more time. Devin Lloyd is the dream watch. Yeah, Devin Lloyd, dudes. If you guys missed the first part of the show, we talked a little bit about the smoke screens, right? Brandon Staley and Tom Telesco, these guys are so good at hiding their intentions from the NFL, and it's a very sound strategy because it keeps people from wanting to jump you, right? People can jump you with assumptions, and I think the New Orleans Saints did just that a couple of weeks ago when they traded up to the 16th pick right in front of the Chargers. I think they can assume that we need offensive linemen, and we would be in on a wide receiver. Both of those positions, I think, is what the Saints are targeting themselves. So they jumped us in order to get the guy before the Chargers could select him before their pick before, which is what, like 23 or something like that. Outside of that, you can't really jump people if you don't tell them what you're going after. In terms of smoke screen, could there have been any better one than the Chargers actually wanting a linebacker and not letting anybody know that? As a matter of fact, feeding information that doesn't support that theory at all. Brandon Staley, all he's talked about is more DBs, more corners, want to run more nickel, dime, dollar, whatever. Just get more DBs on the field. That would throw people off and think, yeah, no way Chargers are taking a linebacker at 17. We're good. We can wait. when in the reality of the situation may even be that the Chargers, which I still think was a bad move, bad call, let go of Kazir White because they are very high on Devin Lloyd or Nakobe Dean. That could be the case all along. We never know. Do I think that's the case? I'm soft on it, but I would not overlook it because Devin Lloyd, to me, even if you're running a lot more DBs, I think he can keep up, right? And he's so much better versus the run, maybe outside of Derwin James and any DB that we have on this roster. It makes a lot of sense to me, but it just, again, the narrative just has not followed that possibility much at all this season. So, I don't know. I would be very hyped for Devin Lloyd, guys. You have no idea. I know the guy from Guilty as Charged, big Utah fan, would be super excited about that too. But again, the narrative has been going the other way. It could have all been a smokescreen all along. You never know. All right, guys, we're going to start winding down here. We've been live for almost an hour, 20 minutes, so it'd be a good time as we get excited about tomorrow. Get your last questions in here. Just throw them in there, man. Whatever you want to talk about. I think we've covered a very wide range of things that can happen this season. Let me ask you guys a question in the comment section, too. I want mid-round guys, man, because tomorrow's going to be so much fun. We're going to sit back and the Chargers are going to select somebody at 17. Maybe they blow our minds. Maybe it was predicted. Either way, I think we're in good hands. Pick 17 tomorrow. Then the next day is going to come in, right? We're going to be streaming that as well. Keep that in mind. And we're going to be, clenching our teeth, biting our nails, thinking, who's available. I guarantee you in round 1, we're going to be thinking there's somebody available that we want. Chargers should trade up. Who's worth it, right? In day 2, then the third round rolls around. The Chargers will have picked a couple of players that maybe one player that really fits what we need. Who's still available? It really depends. But I think where the Chargers draft is going to get super crazy is going to be on day 3. How many picks are we going to have on day 3? We have the 4th, the 5th, 2 6th, and 4 7ths. That's 8 picks. 8 picks in day 3. Who do you think the Chargers could target in day 3? So we're talking rounds 4 through 7. That would make an impact for this team. Most of those picks, you're talking depth, right? You're talking quality depth, especially in rounds 4, 5, and 6. But what do you guys think? I think the consensus for a lot of people is running back. That's where I'm targeting a running back, is rounds 4 through 7. I'll give you guys mine here in just a second. My biggest impact player we can get in day 3. Let's read some of these comments. Bill Ray says, you're the man director. Hey, thank you so much, Bill Ray. Ben asks his thought on trading back and snagging Jahan Dotson. Dotson is actually not bad. Like, if we traded back and we still wanted a wide receiver, Jahan Dotson and Sky Moore are definitely 2 later guys that I think the Chargers would absolutely love. And I think even before that, Christian Watson, right? Those are trade back guys that I feel comfortable at the wide receiver position getting. But yeah, Jahan Dotson would be great. Khalil Shakir is my guy for the 3rd round wide receiver. I don't remember what it was. I saw Shakir and I liked a lot of what I saw, but I remember thinking maybe not my favorite. I don't know why, because he looks good, right? But does he edge more on the gadget side of things? I'm sorry, it's been a while since I've seen Shakir and read up on him and looked up on him, but I couldn't hate it. But at the same time, I thought maybe I'm just getting so high on Tyquan Thornton now that I feel more confident in what he brings archetype wise than Shakir. But who knows? Okay, so I'm seeing all over. You guys are answering my question. Biggest impact guys we can get in day 3. Answer to my own question, too, is Matt Araiza. I'm seeing it from Dragon Iyer. I'm seeing it from Henry Michael. I'm seeing it from a lot of guys here, okay? From Eric. Araiza, surprisingly, and again, this is a classic case of overthinking it, right? The Chargers have a lot of needs. We need a lot of depth. But this roster looks so good going into tomorrow. We could probably afford to do this. And when it comes to getting a year 1 impact player, are you going to find somebody better at their position than Matt Araiza? Likely not, right? And people give me pushback on this, and I've pushed back even in the thought of drafting a punter anywhere near the 4th or 5th round. If I was high on Araiza when I thought we can get him in the 6th or 7th round. I was like, cool. But now I'm thinking it's going to take a 3rd on the high side and then like a 5th on the medium side. So I would be fine 5th or maybe even 4th round, but it really depends on how things shake out on taking Matt Araiza. Because this defense, dude, you have to look at the team as a whole. This defense is so good. If you give them a punter that can provide 80 yards of space to work with, that's a marriage made in heaven. Of course, people will say, well, the Chargers go for it a lot on fourth down. We don't use the punter as much. That's true, but we still punted 47 times last year. Go look it up. 47 is the right number, and that was on the low side of the NFL. If I got a punter that can, nail it 80 yards down the field, then I'm more inclined to punt and give it to my already elite stacked defense. You feel me? So I think the punting would go up a little bit, but it would be for a good reason. Because then if you can get a punter that can nail it 80 yards, and you can depend on that defense to get the ball right back, it does help you in terms of field position a lot. The Chargers special teams have been so bad for so long that maybe it's going to take a drastic move like drafting a punter in the 4th or 5th round to start turning things around. I don't know. Maybe we've been overthinking it. Maybe just because of punter we've been overthinking it. But I am in support of Matt Araiza. The earliest I would feel comfortable taking him is the 5th, but if we end up taking him in the 4th, I'm still celebrating. That is one special player to add late in this year's draft. At the earliest, the 5th round for Araiza. That's where I feel the most comfortable is 5th round, of course. But it's so difficult to talk about because you're talking about using draft resources for a guy that you should be getting undrafted. But he's that special, dude, and I'm endorsing it. Officially, just before the draft, I'm endorsing Matt Araiza. For me, it's going to be in the 5th round, but I can see the Chargers liking that dude a lot. Remember, he has visited with the Chargers, and I'm pretty confident that he left an impression. Jeremy says Danny Gray, SMU, Southern Methodist University, right? I put him in my last mock draft because I like him a lot. And you know what? I think he's being slept on. I think Danny Gray, wide receiver, if you guys didn't know, one of the best budget vertical threats you're going to find in this draft. His ADP is all over the place, though. I don't know where to take him. I feel like he could be, he could drop into the 5th or 6th round, or someone could get as bold as the 3rd round to pick him up. He is a very, risk and reward kind of guy. But he ran a 4.33. Maybe his route tree is a little bit limited, but this dude is really good in the deep part of the field. I think my 2 or 3 guys that I feel very confident in as far as like not Jameson Williams or Chris Olave later round guys, Tyquan Thornton is now my number 1, outside the top 3. Danny Gray is very much so climbing for me. You guys go take a look at some of his tape. Number 5 for SMU. He is insane. He's fast. And again, he might be one of those picks that feels very Chargers. Like, imagine in the 4th round with the so-and-so pick, the Los Angeles Chargers select Danny Gray, wide receiver out of SMU. A lot of people would be like, what? Who is this guy? But he fits what the Chargers need. He's got that speed. And I do think the upside's enough where it's like, yeah, this is Mike and Keenan's team, but now we got that speed element with Danny and Jalen Guyton. Makes a lot of sense to me. Thank you so much, Jeremy. Chargers Overrated says we're going to draft Jameson Williams. Go to Twitter. Go to Twitter. Did something just happen? Tag me if something happened, guys. Tag me if something happened. Go to Twitter. Is this just a general go to Twitter, or did something happen? Oh, baby. Let me know. I feel like, yes, Twitter sees it a lot. Twitter sees it a lot. Oh, I'm seeing some naughty stuff on Twitter. Dang, dude. Let me know. Follow up on that. Let me know if we've seen any evidence to support Chargers really do like Jameson Williams at 17. But we also have to remember JMO has to fall to us at 17 before that becomes a possibility. The more I see on Jameson Williams and his recovery, his almost scarily fast recovery, the more I think that someone's probably going to take him inside the top 10. But who knows, man. Thank you so much, Chargers over Raiders. Awesome support today, my man. Thank you so much. Mousecott says BJ Baylor from Oregon State. It's a great pick in the later rounds. I looked him up. I just don't remember. There's so many names, dude. I'm going to tell you guys right now, I am running on fumes. I'm trying to give myself a breather today and then tomorrow morning to like really relax into the draft and just have a good time with that. But on top of all the videos we've been making, the live streams, the Twitter spaces, we've been working that food truck pretty good. and it's been because we need to get it off the ground here soon. It's a lot of work starting another business, guys. I got to tell you that, but still very, very exciting. Aaron Lawrence says we went for it on fourth down last year because Staley didn't trust special teams and didn't trust the defense as much. We fixed the defense. Time to fix the special teams. That's a great way to look at it. The defense, so soft versus the run, makes the entire thing so unpredictable. Can you trust your defense when they're giving up that much versus the run? Or do you want to give your offense, who's a top 5 offense, a chance at converting on fourth down? That makes so much sense, man. This defense is about to really, turn a corner, and a guy like Ariza would definitely help them and giving him more space. So I like it, man. Hugo says if we get Ariza, he'd be a regular guest in the Pat McAfee show. You bet your butt he would, man. Pat McAfee thinks that Ariza should be a kicker and punter at the same time. How nuts would that be? Dexter Plays, what's going on, man? Is that time already, man? This offseason flew by. Dude, it feels like yesterday that we were all mourning the last game of the Chargers and moving into the offseason. We had the Super Bowl. It was a good time, but hopefully this is a sign that the offseason is not as long as last year's. I think the offseason, God, type 1 in the chat if you guys agree. The offseason of 2020 was the most miserable, long, horrible offseason that I have ever experienced, and it kind of dragged into 2021 a little bit. Here we are, 2022. Hopefully things are getting back to normal. The hype is starting to come back. This offseason's been so good for the Chargers, and I do feel like there's a lot of things that could happen tomorrow that's going to shake things up and give us even more stuff to talk about. So very, very exciting. Yeah, that offseason sucked, but this offseason should be a lot more fun. And we're going to be there every step of the way, man, hyping it up and making sure that people are excited about the potential of this already awesome roster being stacked with this brand new, slew of rookies. It's going to be very, very fun. All right, guys, we're going to start winding down here. Joel Alexander says, Big D, what player, let's make that nickname stick. What player would you adopt the Rams mentality of F them picks and trade up for? Can't wait for tomorrow. Oh, man, if I was throwing picks out the window and I really wanted a guy, it's so tough, dude. F them picks, I think I would go trade for an established player like the Rams tend to do and go get just like a beast to add to defense. If I'm talking the draft, my first instinct is Ike Mekwonu and Neal. Probably Sauce. I'm sorry. Sauce and Derek Stingley would just be so insanely good on this defense. If I'm effing it and just really throwing it all out the window, I'm going to go get Sauce, who reminds a lot of people of Cromartie, and just really have a lot of fun with that. I don't know. It's really tough. No! F them picks. I think I'm going to go get Thibodeau out of Oregon. Get another crazy good pass rusher. Maybe Thibodeau. I don't know. This is so crazy. I don't know. I haven't really thought much about that because I really don't want to trade up, if I'm being quite honest. But yeah, offensive line, corner, and maybe Thibodeau, dude. Thibodeau would be insane. Yeah, I like it. I like it a lot. Well, guys, yeah, Big D, keep that going, man. I want to see that in every Twitter post, every Instagram post, every YouTube post. I love it. I absolutely love it. Well, guys, we're going to wind down here. Hour and a half stream, been very, very fun. Make sure you guys are following me on Twitter too, guys. We hosted what's called a Twitter Space this morning. That was awesome. It felt like a talk radio show, right? Where we had, a couple hundred people in the audience. People would almost they would request to come and talk and raise their hands, and they'd have an opportunity to speak. I got to hear you guys' voices and really have a conversation with you guys, and that was so much freaking fun. I would love to do that again. So make sure you're following me at Kiwi Filmmaker, because I do plan on doing that maybe a little shortly after the draft to kind of find people's, reactions to how things are shaping up. So should be a good time, man. Well, guys, what time are you going to stream tomorrow? Yes, details on tomorrow. The draft is at 5 p.m. Pacific, right? So I might jump on at 4 p.m. Pacific with an hour of hype up, looking up recent rumors, because you guys know, before the draft every single season, there's bombshells that are dropped, right? The gas mask video is released, or somebody says they don't want to play for a certain team. Some drama always goes down in the first hour or the hour before the draft. So we're going to be live a little bit early, answering questions, going over scenarios, keeping up with the news, and then hyping our way up to the Chargers' 17th overall pick. as well as we're going to stick around too, dude. I think that it's almost equally important to watch the picks after the Chargers to see if there's anybody worth trading up for in the second round. I'm telling you, if Bernard Raymond falls and we don't select an offensive lineman, even if we select an interior offensive lineman, I want to trade up for Bernard Raymond in the second if he does fall. So that's going to be super, super fun, man. Just checking to see if any of this Odell Beckham hype has any warrant to it. Cam Akers is going to wear number 3, which was Odell Beckham's last season. Maybe Odell is moving on. Who knows? Well, guys, thank you so much for joining me. Last one coming in from Chargers Overrated says, speak it into life, Stingley. Last question for everybody in the comments. Who's your gut feeling the Chargers are going to take at 17? It can be a bold take, too. I'm going to give Stingley like a 25% chance, which is probably a 20% chance more than I normally would, just because I know Brandon Staley loves the guy. Stingley would be insane. Regular says Jordan Davis. Eric says Trenton McDuffie. Rodney says Devontae Wyatt. Hugo the Doorman says McDuffie. Jordan Davis by Mexican Radio. Christian Castillo says Jordan Davis. So a lot of McDuffie, a lot of Olave, a lot of Jordan Davis, a lot of Big J-Mo. Penning says Zay-Ring. Who knows? Well, guys, thank you so much for joining me. This has been The Director. We'll see you next time tomorrow at the draft, 4 p.m. Pacific. Be there. Get hyped. It's going to be one of the funnest time of years. Draft day is finally here. Fire up that Kevin Costner video or a DVD Blu-ray. Get hyped up. Tomorrow's going to be one of the biggest days of the year for the Chargers. Pick 17. Let's go out there and add to this bolstered roster to make a sure-ish pull to the post-season. It's going to be an awesome time, man. Let's go draft. It's going to be a big day tomorrow. We'll catch you guys then. This has been The Director. We'll see you next time, and as always, bolt up and stay frosty. To the Super Bowl, baby. Give me J-Mo. Give me McDuffie. Give me Stingley. It's going to be a good time. Thank you again, guys, so much.
Want to watch football without the restrictions of blackouts or cable? Check out expressvpn.com to help you get access to all the live games. Sign up today using the link in the description to get 3 free months.